So thank you very much for joining me, Richard, today. So
You're very
I'm
welcome.
going to get you just to kick us off. Tell us who you are and what you love to do.
Thank you, Eloise. It's awesome to be here, and gosh, we're the other side of the planet to one another. It's crazy. Right now I coach consultants and small businesses on getting clients on LinkedIn. So the conversion part, rather than just the whole content part. So I really enjoy that art of selling in a way where people don't feel they're being sold to and everyone's feeling quite fulfilled by it. And it's been a wonderful process of enjoying building this kind of business and helping so many people. My background briefly, I'm 40 now, so I've been in business for 18 years, and I did 10 years corporate in the city. I was actually a history graduate, so nothing to do with business or accounting or anything like that. And my first job in 2002 was selling internet marketing. So I'm so pleased. It's crazy. It was like a sliding doors moment. They just halved the new cohort of new starters and went, you're going to sell in magazines and you are going to sell this new internet thing. And it was kind of cool back then to be doing it. So I'm really thrilled they did that. But always in sales. So I then became head of sales, and then I moved to conferences. I sold business conferences, and then ultimately a sales director in a headhunting company. And I exited about 8 years ago now, started my consulting work, and done a number of iterations, but I'm really enjoying what I do. And you've asked what I like to do. I currently do a lot of riding. I've got my first 100k bike ride this coming weekend, so I'm excited about it. Yeah, and I'm a runner as well, so I've done a few marathons. I haven't done one for a year or so I'm keen to get back into that. And I'm just giving you random facts on me, I suppose. I have 2 children. I'm a Taekwondo 4th Dan. I used to run 2 Taekwondo schools, but you can't do everything, so I had to close them in the end after many years to build more space for the kind of stuff I do now. And after all of that climb, that whole journey, I'm here today with you. You are the latest thing I'm doing. So there you go.
Excellent. Right. So that's perfect. So basically, as business owners, obviously, we all know that sales is the lifeblood of our businesses. We get absolutely nowhere without it. And it's a topic that comes up quite a lot. And obviously, we have a lot of focus on because we do telesales ourselves, obviously, at Zembr as well. So since you love it so much, I would love to hear from you. Overall sales, not even necessarily specifically jumping in on LinkedIn, what do you think are the core basics for successful salespeople or sales methods even?
Great question. And by the way, I love that you do telesales. That's where I first learned, and it's hard. So if you can do it, you will, you'll rock it in other places. It's tough. So I always respect people who do that and use that as a route to market. So some things are really crucial, and if you have it, then confidence is such a winning thing to have. I didn't. I was very introverted and shy, and so instead of that, I had to look at other things. So those who have confidence will all do well. This is a people sport. Scripts and great products are typically insufficient to get deals unless the personal connection is there. So you should always look to focus on, if you're going to train yourself, if you're going to, read books on behaviour or whatever, it should all be first and foremost, how do I engage with people in a way that they want to be engaged? And the great news for people, especially if they're starting out or if they're struggling, is in any form of sales and business really, if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, ask yourself, what are you actually doing? Hear yourself, record yourself maybe. And typically, the things that you would find a turn off are typically the things other people find a turn off as well. So a spammy, cold DM to someone doesn't work because guess what? It doesn't work for you either, right? So all of this stuff is really important, and the best way to look at it is taking some cues from the offline world. How would you interact with someone when you first meet them in a
Yeah.
low-key, chilled environment. The first time you meet someone in a bar or sit next to them at a wedding or whatever, do you pitch them? No. But they might be perfect. But even if they were perfect, do you pitch them? No. You start with something else. And so a really big takeaway here is commonality as well. So another big tip is look for commonality. So when I was really crushing it in the city, I was selling using leads or companies. This is cold calling, but I was going in looking for commonality. And all I did was I said, right, is there a mutual connection somewhere? And I was finding companies to pitch that were somehow related to a company we'd already worked with. So if I've worked with a company that also has worked with your company, I just use them as leverage, basically, because you're like, oh, well, I know them too. Well, then, by proxy, you, Richard, must be okay. And the final thing I'd say, I could go on all night, but the final thing I'll say is a really big tip is, remember above all that trust is the foundation of any deal ever. Yeah. This morning, probably like you, this morning I got an email in my spam mail, my junk box, saying that I'd won 2.5 million quid, and I don't believe it, and I don't trust it. Although the product is something I want, I wouldn't mind 2.5 million quid. The thing is, it's coming from a base place of distrust. And although it's a silly example, it proves the point. Unless there's trust, there's no deal, which is why a lot of people talk about personal brand and so on. That's why, for instance, for you, Zembr requires you to be a model person because you're a face of the business as well. It really is crucial that salespeople come across in the right way because they're repping the company, sure, but more importantly, there's a human animal listening to them and deciding and making judgments subconsciously on if that person's trustworthy or not. So hopefully there's a few nuggets in there.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, I was just going to zero in on the DM thing. This is totally not what I was going to talk about, but...
That's fine.
I don't know if it's really big right now or if it always has been, but the whole cold sales DMs, I feel like I get about, I don't know how many a day. In all seriousness, I know there's a lot of people that believe in it as a way of selling. I personally hate it, and I don't believe in it at all, and I just think it's the wrong way around it. But does it actually have a place, do you think, in anyone's good sales strategy?
I love commenting on this because a lot of people get miffed by it, and I completely understand. And look, the thing is that when you have volume, so for instance on LinkedIn, 700 million potential people you could reach out to, and you have the carrot dangling in front of you of commission, when you combine those two things, you get people going, maybe if I could just spam everyone, something will be a deal. And the fact is, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you get a deal, but that's not because your DM worked, by the way. This is crucial, people understand this. Even when people say, oh, but I'm leading with value, I'm inviting them to my free webinar or whatever, it's not working. The reason why it might get a deal every 500 times you try is because you happened to win the lottery that time and uncover someone who happened to need that service anyway. So I can actually use the lottery example. If I bought 1 million lottery tickets every week, I would probably win the lottery every so often. But it's a stupid... It's not... I haven't earned the lottery win. I haven't found a secret formula. I just got lucky. And that's not how you build a sustainable business. Because a sustainable business requires you to know that if you put inputs A, B, and C in, you get X, Y, and Z out. And that's why the DM thing doesn't work. But here's the thing, as a little footnote, is interesting because it's so easy, and I've done it too, for us to go like, these people are crazy, what's wrong with them? But a lot of people don't know any better. And so it's kind of not their fault. There's some people who really should know better, but some people are like, I don't know what to write. And this is the thing, almost everyone I work with, they come to me because they're frustrated, because they do content all the time, they get loads of engagement, and they're like frustrated to hell because they're like, but I'm getting money, we're all broke, like this social thing is meant to work, but apparently the DMs light up after a while, it doesn't work. And it's because understanding what to write with the right context is crucial. So what I'll say is like, it's almost like we have to give these people a break sometimes, because unless they're a professional, they probably don't know better. And the thing is that the pitch that they put in and the product and the service is actually typically great.
Yeah.
It's the process that's wrong.
Yeah.
So leading with the cold DM is wrong in this idea of selling through the first DM. Leading with a DM is fine when you do it in a human way, and when you do it in a an organic way, and you comment, it's showing curiosity on the other person's content or whatever. I'm pretty sure you and I probably connected via DM to begin with, and it was based on curiosity in one or the other's business or something like that. And we've evolved to a place now where it's like, hey, we're having a call like this, and you never know what might happen in the future. I might use your company, for instance, and the problem is that feels like such a long process for people, and they can't be bothered, and it's easier just to throw rubbish at it out there, and
it's an easy trap.
Get something. Yeah, but ultimately it's far more fulfilling, but also you get better deals by doing it the long human way instead. So it's an interesting world. It will never go away. It has always been here. It will always be around.
Yes, well, I do think it does. I reckon it must do a lot of damage to a lot of people's brands, though, as well, on the other side.
Totally. This is the thing, that it's very bad for your health. I've worked with companies where it's like floors of people hitting the phones all day long, 500-600 dials a week, and it's unless you can get it and understand how to engage with people in closed deals, it's soul destroying, because it's a whole day of rejection, and then another one the next, and so on. It's really hard work, but there are better ways, and it can be improved. If you do want to take DMs, no problem, but it can be improved. Just ask yourself, would I respond favourably to this message before you click send?
Yeah, that's good. So just what you were saying then about obviously handling rejection. If we're going to go back to say the telesales side of sales, for example, even the face-to-face mindset is huge. I mean, that applies anywhere in life, but particularly in business, and particularly for entrepreneurs. I mean, obviously, I struggle with it. You have your roller coaster, ups and downs, whatever. And salespeople, I think we're just a brand of very roller coaster people. What do you have to say about trying? How would you suggest you help salespeople or entrepreneurs get and keep that winning sort of mindset?
Yeah, because it's not helpful to say, oh, you just got to have a strong, thick skin and just push through. It's not actually very helpful at all in the moment when you're getting rejected. I think it's difficult because before you know you can do things, you have to believe you can do it. And that takes a lot of, it's difficult because simultaneously there's a voice in your head going, yeah, but I probably can't, can I? And so it's quite difficult to balance it. But the thing is, there is a thing called deal confidence. And deal confidence comes from when you start hitting your stride and deals, you're like, this is actually not that hard, and you just recreate it. And I've been around literally thousands of salespeople across almost 2 decades, because I train people in the city, big sales teams and so on, at big corporates, and it's always the same. The people who are down on their luck are the ones who are not getting the results. The people who are feeling great are. And they both are selling precisely the same product. So remember this, it's never the product, it's always you. It's surprising how those who put themselves in a good frame of mind in the mornings can get a good result. If I wasn't quite feeling, I remember this was when I was your age, Eloise, and I feel like a granddad saying, when I was your age, if I was walking to work and I wasn't feeling it, I'd go around the block one more time. Or I would, what music are you listening to? What shows are you watching? What books are you reading? It all feeds in. This is a lifestyle choice, being in sales, because the most precious thing is your state. And that includes when you're doing badly, you have to say to yourself, I'm okay, I've got this, I'm all good still, I'm just having one of those troughs. And it does even out after a while, but you should always be auditing and always experimenting and saying to yourself, well, what could I be improving here? I'm really fortunate, but it's not because of luck, it's because of graft, that I've got to a place where I now do literally 0 outbound. So no phone calls, no reaching out by cold. Yeah, literally, and you're experiencing the same. And to get there requires social proof, getting people to believe in you and so on. But it starts with, like, this is your big takeaway, anyone taking notes, listening to this, that starts with understanding that, as you said at the start, you know, deals and money and, you know, cash flow is your oxygen. And it is so easy to do what I call positive procrastination, which is do things that feel relevant. I'll just read one more book, or I'll just watch one more motivational video, and not be actively on the pitch. You cannot spectate. The best way to get better is constantly be iterative and improve yourself, but also be on the pitch as much as you possibly can be. The reason why I was good, quick in selling wasn't natural ability. It wasn't at all. It's because I ran through walls of abuse, of being rubbish to start with, by just doing it non-stop.
Yeah.
Perversely, I was very lucky to have a really, not abusive manager, but one who pushed me hard and didn't let me stop practicing. He was like, you've got to keep going. I expect you to do it non-stop all the time. And there are more elegant ways of doing it, but you cannot ever be experienced. It's worth so much, and you need to combine shots at goal with velocity or frequency, which means making sure you're doing sales every day or something to do with it. You can't just have a good afternoon solidly on sales and go, that's me done for the week. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. If you're a solopreneur, you really have to be having it as part of your day each day. And as quickly as possible, sure, build other mechanisms around you, but sales in some form or customer acquisition in some form must feature every day. Exposure to it is the best solution, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's one of those things that is so, it is so easy to let it drop for whatever reason, especially when you're in the solopreneur type area. But there's something that I always try, I should say, to drill into my salespeople, but is, you know, the excuse, oh, it was too expensive or whatever it is. It's like never the excuse, right? There's always objections, and it always comes down to people. So what are your thoughts, or your top, say, 3 tips on handling objections successfully?
Yeah, it's interesting. The worst way, apart from ignoring them, obviously, which some people do, they think if I ignore the objection, maybe it will just sort itself out.
Oh, no.
Unbelievable. Aside from that, the worst way to handle objections is the traditional sales approach, which is to handle them retrospectively, to let them come up and then handle them with some killer line that makes that person the prospect reform their views. The best way to handle objections is preemptively, so that they never come up in the first place. That might sound cute and like never possible, but there's a reason why when I speak to people about my accelerator, for instance, no one ever has a problem with the price. Yeah. No one ever thinks it, because the word expensive is subjective. What that means is, for the value you're offering, I feel you're charging too much money. The reason why no one ever believes that when I speak to them is because by the time I speak to them, they've gone through a process of warming and conditioning and understanding what the product is worth. So the way you this seems like I'm giving you an answer that is not answering it, but the way you handle this is to make sure you go hard on value, but there are 2 types of value, because most people a lot of people in marketing don't understand real selling, which is understanding value properly. Real value is practical, sure, business value. We give you this, it gets you these results. But also remember, as you rightly brought up here today, that there's a human element as well. So there's also emotional value. And what I mean by that is that you have to be stimulating for the other person. And it might just be on a humorous level, but it should be on a stimulating level. Maybe you're intellectually, giving them value. You're just a fun person to be around. If you thought I was an absolute idiot, then no matter how much experience I have, you probably wouldn't want me on your show, right? So there's an element of social value required. I don't know if that's the case. I hope it is. But that's really crucial. Yeah. So what you've got here is this. If you can focus on that, you've got to remember that the prospect you're pitching should want to buy from you as a person.
Yeah.
Well above their interest in the product. That is what gets the real sale. And so go hard at the beginning on engaging. Being happy-go-lucky, cheery, and a bit too energetic and over-social at the start is a mistake, because now you don't come across as serious. So give them a great entry, but be the fun person, the one who they want to be around, because why wouldn't they want to buy from that person instead? That's what's crucial. Yeah. Relationships and connections are 2/3 of the deal, not the product. And so don't hide behind the practical value. Still, when an objection comes up, there is a process you should take. A real objection, not a fake one of like, I'm just not interested at the start, but a real objection requires quickly 4 key components. The first is you acknowledge it. You can't just try and hope it goes away, because as you talk about something else, they're still dwelling on that objection and thinking about it. They've got to get past it first. So you go like, I hear you, so a bit of empathy as well, so I understand what you're trying to say here. Explain a bit more. So you want to now get them to open up and explain what they mean by it. It's a conversation. Don't make it seem like some kind of question and answer. Just be chill and just say, okay, I get what you're saying is expensive. What's making you say that? Explain yourself. And again, if you've had a good start to the relationship and the call or the meeting, they will be cool with explaining it. If you haven't had a good start and you haven't connected with them properly on a social level, well, they're not going to give you much, but that's what you deserve because you haven't invested in the relationship enough at the start. After acknowledging it and getting a bit from them, then you need to do your best to handle that objection. And, you know, you can use all manner of things, social proof. You can reframe what they're really getting. You can maybe go harder on a particular benefit to really remind them that there's this particular problem that you're solving, because you should be talking about your solutions after having uncovered what really the pain point is. Once you've done that, you most importantly have to do the thing people tend to not do, which is check. You have to check that they actually feel better about this problem. And no objection is handled until you're convinced that they are convinced. If you're like, so does that feel better? And they're like, I suppose that's not solved. You don't move on, and it's not about ticking a box. It's like you have to call it. You have to say, do you know what? It doesn't sound like we're quite there. Like, what else do I need to help you with? And then once it's done, then you move on. So that's the 4th step, is actually move on and continue leading the conversation. If there was ever a book you should check out on this, is a book by a guy called Mark McCormack, who was founder of a very rich guy, founder of IMG, as a sports agency in the US, and it's called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. And it's all about these soft skills, packed with stuff like that, and it's really powerful stuff, and I would really recommend that. But that's just the basic framework, but I massively urge people to really spend time about looking at preemptively striking. And you know what? In the world, for instance, for your sales team, in the world, there's only variations of like 6 objections. That's it. That's it. They're all variations of the same thing. So you've got to say, well, what's the one that comes up all the time? So what do we therefore need to do to preemptively strike against it? Those that get the expensive thing all the time, the best way of handling it preemptively is to talk at the front of this about how it's a premium product. And make a point of saying everyone is considerably less investment than ours. The reason why we're more is because, you know, the reason why we work with JPM and Rolls-Royce and whoever is because we provide this extra level of service that's not really done. So this is and just make people clear that it's a premium service, and that can help for sure. So I'm trying to give you an hour seminar in 2 minutes there.
No, well, we actually do that. I mean, part of our sales process is to bring up the price before the client does. So, before, like, we won't send a price until we've discussed it with them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that it can be the most difficult to do. No one loves talking about money. Like, it's just always that taboo topic. But it makes.
But one thing to add on this, as well, is an awareness of with empathy of what each party actually is interested in. Sure, we want the deal, but a prospect isn't actually interested in that deal part. They're interested in what's going to happen afterwards, the relationship. Yes. So you should make delivery of the price and the closing of the deal incidental. It should be a very small moment, and that's how you need to treat it. Treat it light, no big deal, this is just how it is, everyone always pays it, it's not a big deal at all. But the most important thing is focusing on next steps, our first meeting, what you'll need to do next, how my team will help, because that's what buyers are interested in. Not so much that deal part, and a lot of salespeople tend to inflate and make a big show and dance of this price moment, which is a reflection of an insecurity, I understand.
That's good, excellent. So that are all a lot of golden nuggets there from your 1 hour seminar compressed into 15 minutes. So I'm going to actually wrap it up at that, so I don't take too much more of your time. Do you want to just give a really quick, give us like your 30-second, if someone was going to ask you for help, how would you help them?
Yeah, I think firstly, if someone wants help, you need to make it part of your day that you seek help all the time. You know, like as in you should be reading every day. Before getting on this call, I had a segment of my day when I was reading and learning every single day. Also make sure you go and practice all the time. But the final thing I'd say with help for people is know the level you're at so that you don't set yourself up for a horrible sense of rejection and that you can't do things.
Yeah.
If you are brand new to selling, then your objective is not to close deals. Okay? Now, the extroverted, uber-confident salespeople won't agree with that, but it's the best way to look at it. If I'm just starting out, I need to say to myself, my first objective here is make 5 phone calls today.
Yeah.
And if I hit that, and that seems weak, but that's how you have to start. Otherwise, you're going to fail. If you're starting out in business, it's the same. Don't try and make a world-class website and polished logo and that kind of thing. All that stuff is fluff compared with first deals. Get something. Get what's known as an MVP ready, proof of concept, and just speak to people about it and start your process. Your objectives at the start should be engage with a new audience and talk about it and hone your sense of what your product's about and take it from there. Not, I'm going to be a millionaire this month, I need to do 100k. Desperation may be driving you to need to do this kind of thing, but at the same time you've got to know the level you're at and evolve towards a level where you become a millionaire each month. I don't know. But the point is that you need to know the level you're at and set yourself realistic targets and objectives there so that you can win even at the start. That's what's crucial.
Excellent. Well, thank you very, very much. I will wrap it up there. If you're any parting shots, anything else you wanted to share before you finish up?
I don't be scared of selling. There's a whole spectrum of it. There's horrible selling. People don't like doing it that way, and it's like an awful world you can live in. And the spectrum all the way through to very fulfilling, engaging with people. Yeah. And they say, do you know what? I'd love to buy from you, please. And whilst people hate to be sold to, they love to buy. So inhabit that side of the sales spectrum and you'll enjoy yourself.
Fantastic. I love it. So thank you very, very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And we will look forward to speaking to you again.
Cool. Thank you.